Camden Town is an inner-city district of London and was once an important area for industrial labour due to its location along the London Canal network and railway system. Its former industrial purpose has now been replaced with tourism, retail and, of course, entertainment. Camden has an eclectic musical history dating back from the 1930s. Over the years, its music venues have featured an array of different genres of music.
I think Camden Town is one of the most popular places on earth, I guess. It's really popular. If you come to London, you come to Camden, it's something that you have to do.
Yeah, I think tourists make up the biggest part of it now during the day. You'd walk around, there's kind of a lot of tourists, people with cameras, you'd notice that walking around the street, everyone's like really slow looking at things, because there's such a lot to look at, and like dragons coming out of the wall, like, it's mad. And yeah, it's cool, but then you've got like the rockers and like the kind of goths and like the big metal or leather black denim jackets and boots and studding and piercings and tattoo artists. It kind of links in with the music as well, because it's kind of like that creative artistic side, like the piercings, the tattoos, kind of links in with the uniqueness of the place. And then there's a lot of, I think the folk and blues scene is getting big here. They wouldn't really stick out as much as somebody with big green hair walking down the street. But there's a lot of like kind of hipster folk kind of people coming in, which is really good. It's bringing in a new thing in music.
I mean, there are a lot of places where your friends will come watch you and no one else gives a crap. But here, everyone sort of really business, and they come here for the music.
There aren't many places in the world where you can spend one night out and have the luxury of such a wide range of different music venue choices. Camden Town provides a diversity of alternative shops and restaurants, but its pubs, clubs and bars, old and new, have something for everyone. Camden is the home of places like the Dublin Castle, Proud Camden, Jazz Cafe, Coco, the Roundhouse, Spiritual Bar and the Monarch. Big, small, famous or just starting out, each venue adds its own special touch to Camden's nightlife.
I think in Camden alone, the borough of Camden, there are more than 44 venues, so definitely lots of music heritage going on right from the start. So my reason why I moved to Camden anyway.
The Spiritual Bar is one of Camden's many hidden gems. Located just off Chalk Farm Road, this bar is called home by many local Camden musicians. Featuring live music every night, the Spiritual Bar gives artists an opportunity to connect with others in the community. While many other venues in Camden showcase indie rock musicians, the Spiritual Bar brings Camden back to its roots of folk and blues.
But the main thing here in Spiritual Bar is the music. We have music every night, and we mainly play folky, bluesy music. And it's been really interesting because we've been doing this for 3 years now, and we have around like 70 musicians which play here in the bar every month, and super talented people.
Art gallery by day and live music venue by night, Proud Camden, located in the Stables Food and Clothing Market, is a magnet for locals and tourists to enjoy a night full of good music and dancing. This 200-year-old renovated stable is unlike anything else and has become one of the most popular venues in Camden.
If you're going to work at a music venue, then Camden is the place. Yeah, as a musician and being surrounded by musicians all my life, it makes sense that I would go somewhere where we're at home, a music venue. So, yeah, it's just being around creatives. I have a say in the bands that we book sometimes, and it's a real nice atmosphere here. Just music is first.
I think that's another thing that's unique with Camden, is that it's kind of a mixture of both. You could have an up-and-coming band playing the Barfly, but across the road you could have Arcade Fire playing, because they played just a few months ago in the Roundhouse. So it's completely the best of both worlds, which is very, very unique.
There's venues that sort of cater to a heavier crowd, so Camden definitely has a punk and metal scene. I think generally Camden has a reputation for being quite punky, which probably isn't true. There's a lot of acoustic acts on all the time. There's like the indie bands that sort of were around with the Libertines and Pete Doherty. That scene was quite synonymous with Camden.
I think it's quite diverse. It really depends on the venue, especially with the amount of venues that are here as well at the moment. There's so many. So if they all would be indie rock venues, I think it would get boring a while. There's still quite a lot of indie rock venues. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them are still in that category. But still, you've got places like the Jazz Cafe, which is not really indie rock. The Roundhouse naturally is like a proper, for over 3,000 capacity venue with iTunes Festival and everything, versus Coco, which is maybe more indie rock but still a big venue. Towards little ones like this, which is more folk and blues focused.
From the early 1900s, music and its residents have been an integral part of Camden life. In the 1930s, immigrants from Ireland were surging over, and with them they brought their own traditional music. This music, which consisted mostly of flutes and fiddles, transitioned into the broader category of rock and roll in the 1960s. Camden would be nothing without its diversity of bands and their own spins on genres. Their wide array of taste and creativity on live music is the reason for Camden's current position as the centre of London's music scene.
Well, it's always had a long history of live music, and when I was in a band, when we played our initial gigs, that was the place we targeted, because all the venues we wanted to play at were there. There was like 3 venues in Camden, and basically the whole indie scene in London revolved around Camden between 1987 and about 1996. So if you were in a band, you had to play here, otherwise you wouldn't get to play in front of record companies and the music press, and you wouldn't, that's where you had to be.
I think the musicians here kind of know each other for the most part, and it's good for musicians to have a place like that where they can meet people and create bands and create music easily, and just know you can go to Camden and it'll be good music no matter where you go, any night of the week, which is very unique.
I think the music scene is quite. It used to be more, from what I've read up and what I know from people that have been here for a while, it used to be more one thing, I think, back in the 90s, especially the noughties, as they're referred to here, it was all like big indie rock kind of thing. Like indie rock was the thing, the Britpop thing. I mean, I think like so many big bands like Radiohead, but naturally Libertines, but even Kings of Leon, like even American acts who came over here, like all started like playing this area because that was the thing. And I think it's definitely become a bit more diverse now as well, especially because I think that kind of indie rock is not as big anymore as it was. Like we're not completely screaming for Blur and Oasis anymore.
The 1960s was a prolific time for music all throughout the world, and Camden was right on the front lines. The Roundhouse, right on Chalk Farm Road, was where such legendary acts as Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix and The Doors played in their early years. This continued all the way through to the 90s. Radiohead revolutionised indie pop with dark, genre-bending albums like OK Computer. Oasis defined indie Brit rock for an entire generation. Even American acts like the Smashing Pumpkins and Kings of Leon came across the pond to contribute to the scene. It's bands like these that colour Camden with history and culture.
So it's ever changing, whatever the trend is. I think it's from Britpop, and then you had the sort of scene where bands crossed over with dance music in the kind of early noughties, I suppose. And then, the band thing kind of has disappeared a bit really, because bands can't get signed anymore. So you get bombarded with singer-songwriters and slightly X-Factorised type stuff, So that's where it is at the moment. It's gone away from band.
Working in Camden and Proud especially, has definitely expanded sort of my potential and my ideas, and made me just given me an opportunity to really try things in music that I perhaps wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
What was so awesome about Camden, I was just walking down the tube station one night after getting food or something, and just ended up walking into Prince. Like, that's where else would you get that? Like, it's ridiculous.
Even though the 1990s is deemed as Camden's peak in terms of global popularity, there is no reason to believe that Camden is slowing down. Camden Town is an instrumental location for the development of British youth culture, and the music of the area is a key element in this. As the music industry grows both globally and in London, Camden embraces diversity and innovation that will keep all audiences excited. Consisting of mostly small venues, Camden has to constantly stay on its toes to keep up with the rest of the music world. Their influx of major festivals, including Camden Rocks, iTunes Festival and Roundhouse Rising, create a platform for new music and large crowds. The success of Camden's future rests on its new artists and their ability to stay true to what Camden stands for. Trends will come and go, but Camden's spirit is here to stay.
It's a mess, but a very good mess.
Yeah, Camden is by far the best place in London for live music, and yeah, the best place to be. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.